much for being here this evening. Welcome to Van Dyke Park Place. I'm Michael Quisit. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Van Dyke Healthcare. It's so nice to see all the wonderful families that we rarely get a chance to see together like this. So the more we're able to do these kinds of gatherings, especially after everything that we have all gone through together, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to be here, because we're planning to do more of these gatherings, and I hope you will continue to join us. I know that you've heard from the Van Dyke family. Over the last couple of years, we've talked about getting back to normal. And I think it was a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction because we were just looking for some semblance of steadiness, of stability, something that was familiar to us. But instead of asking to get back to normal, I think it's time for us to talk about how we can take steps forward. And that is the primary reason why we are gathered here today with our wonderful guest speaker. I know you didn't come to listen to me speak, so I want to turn it over to this wonderful man who has had the privilege of speaking and meeting so many people throughout, not just this country, but throughout the world. He has touched countless lives with his miraculous story, his inspiring words, and his everlasting heart. It is my privilege and pleasure to introduce to you the Commander-in-Change, Scott Chesney. Can you hear me? You can hear me okay back there?
Yes.
All right, second, speak louder. Michael, thank you so much. It's such a joy to be here at Van Dyke. Someone just shared with me, they said, wow, we're so glad that you're here. Like a year ago, you were supposed to be here. So, pandemics, everything else, nothing's keeping me from getting to Van Dyke. I'm just letting you know. Even my drive here from Verona, New Jersey, I had a first-time experience. You know what happened? A turkey flew, I'm not joking, flew in front of my car. And I was like, okay, it's going to be one of those nights. So I'm just letting you know, I don't know exactly where tonight's going to go, but it's going to be perfectly imperfect. Just like our lives, just like our paths. I was at Seton Hall Prep today. I had a chance to speak to all the students there. And we were talking about how our lives change and how they basically have this trajectory and we keep getting up and up and up. And I was like, that would be ideal. Like we start off down here and we're constantly growing like up a mountain. I was like, my actual photo of my life looks more like if you had a 2-year-old with a piece of paper and a crayon and just asked them to doodle on it. That would be my life's path. That would be where life has taken me so far. And I wouldn't have it any other way. My friends, tonight, whatever role you have in this world right now, whether it's someone who's just battling each and every day, looking to survive, I'm talking to you. If right now you are a caregiver on some level and really trying to help a loved one, I'm talking to you. But collectively, I'm talking to you about the first title. Can anybody tell me the first title that we came into this world with? The first title. Screaming baby, screaming, doing whatever we were doing. Can anybody tell me? First title we came into this world.
Son or daughter.
Screaming baby, I like that. But what connects us all? Can we say human being?
Yeah.
Human being. That's the title that we can all get. Is anybody from Mars or anybody from Because I meet a lot of people, and sometimes I'll question that. So we're all human beings. And why I share that is that one is that we're born to make mistakes, but also what I'm realizing more than ever is that we're all working through something. We're all working through some kind of challenge, some kind of change. And what I'm realizing, what's more important than ever before, and this applies to everybody in this room and everybody out there, is that not only that we take time to share our stories with people, because I think it's powerful, and I think it's very healing to share our stories, where we've been, what we've worked through, and what we're maybe going through now. But what I've realized through this journey, my own journey, is how powerful it is to listen to the other stories of others, of other people. Because what's happening is that in so many ways, the world is moving faster than ever before. It's tough to keep up with it. So there's a part of me that really wishes we were born with some kind of pause button on the inside so we can just pause things a little bit. But I also know it's preventing us from getting to know one another's stories. So obviously, I'm going to share my story tonight with you. I'd like to learn a little bit more about you. I want you to be motivated. I want you to be inspired. But I will tell you right now, motivation, inspiration can be here today and gone tomorrow. You can leave here feeling like you're on top of the world. Wow, that was so motivational. Anything's possible. And wake up tomorrow morning and say, woe is me. I got this back pain. I got this pain. I got all this. I get it. So you might say, what's the key? Anything that I'm sharing with you tonight that seems to resonate with you, in which Scott's speaking to me right now, is that I want you to put it into action. So whether it's a little exercise, whether it's communicating with a loved one, whether it's eating a little differently, whatever the changes, and we'll get into those today, may be, you have to take action. I wish I could come up with a better saying, but I can't. Is that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And yes, I'm calling you horses right now because I don't have a better line. But I like to think I give some of the finest tasting water in the world. But you got to drink it. And I'm looking at every set of eyes in here right now. And my heart goes out to you. We're connected, we're human beings. But I promise you, if you take what I have to offer today, and you apply it in your life out there, whatever titles that you may have, I'm going to promise you that life is going to be enhanced. That life is going to be better. You can say, well, life is just great right now. I wouldn't want to change a thing. In which I'm going to say, that's wonderful. I love how things are great for you. And I'm going to say the moment where I say life is great and there's nothing left to be figured out, is that you know what you do with me? You dig a hole in the ground, you put me in it, and you cover me with dirt. So for me, it's about appreciating where we are in the here and now, but knowing that it's about constant and never-ending improvement. Being grateful for where we are now, but knowing full well that we could be better, that we could do better. And just making that commitment. And it's not about competing or comparing ourselves with others. It's about being the best version of ourselves in each and every moment. So I want you to think about that. So if life's going great, let's make it even greater. What I'm finding, though, with a lot of people these days, are one-word answers. How are you? I'm good. I'm fine. I'm okay. I don't know about you, but I made a decision a long time ago, is that when I start using the word good, fine, or okay, for me now, that's like flatlining. That's just like, that's just coasting and getting by. And trust me, there's things I need to do on a daily basis, like you all, in which you have to do to survive. I get it. And a lot of you out there have survived really, really tough adversity in your life. And I get it. But what I want you to think about, no matter how young, how old, whatever it may be, I want you to entertain the word thriving tonight. Just entertain thriving. Because I want to give you some strategies, some tips on thriving. So I have to tell you, it was about a decade ago, at a presentation like this, that I just said, you know what? I've gotten so many pats on the head, like, oh, you've survived paralysis so long. And I got to tell you, I'm not a little dog, but I'll take the pats and I'm fine with that. But something resonated. I said, you know what? I don't want to just survive anymore. I want to thrive. In which one of my audience members said, there's no way. You got a disability. You're paralyzed. You can't thrive. I said, says who? Says who? It's got to get through me. And I'm one of those people, ladies and gentlemen, as you'll learn, is that keep telling me I can't do something. Keep telling me I can't be something. It doesn't get me down. It doesn't get me dejected. It's like a big cup of coffee, and I'm not talking decaf. It just energizes me to the point where I will find a way. And if I don't find a way, I will come to that decision on myself and say, nope, I can't get this done. I have to go in a different direction. I'm getting jealous of all these walkers that just keep coming in here. So if I end up taking one, that's an upgrade for my wheelchair, so hold on to your walkers tightly right now. Do you know there's a $50 late fee? They didn't tell you that? Okay, don't play the disability card either, because that doesn't resonate with me. You know I'm just kidding. It's only at $25. That's okay. Talk after. So my friend, I want tonight, I know it's going to be difficult for you to process and understand, but I'm going to let you know it's possible. In so many ways, today, tonight, can be the first day of your life. For one reason only. Because you so choose. Because you so choose. And I'm letting you know that this goes far beyond what your mind is telling you right now. I'm learning more and more that there's a voice up here inside our head. And it's the one we're conditioned to listen to. And many of you have been listening to it far too long. And I'm letting you know when this thing, our head, our mind, whatever you want to call it, when this is leading the way, it's about fear. It's about disbelief. It's about playing small in life. You have to ask yourself if any, if not all of those words resonate with you. And if they do, I appreciate your honesty. But I am also here to tell you, through the power to choose comes the power to change. You can say, no longer is that going to resonate. Now again, I'm going to get into my story, but I want to let you know about this other voice quickly, because this is what I want to start to ignite right now, and I want to awaken within many of you. And this is the message of our heart. See, there's a voice inside our heart right now. And we go there in times of adversity. We go there in times of challenges. We go into our heart. That's where our courage resides. And I'm letting you know, yes, that is the truth. But I'm also letting you know that we can choose to live from our hearts each and every day. And when you live from your heart, that's about courage, that's about expansion, that's about subscribing to the belief that anything is possible. And then you know what happens? When we live from our hearts, then all of a sudden our beautiful minds get involved. And then they follow. And then they serve us in the form of creativity and imagination. So think about that. Think about living from your heart today on a daily basis. And then having this thing called mind come along for the ride. And have it serving you in terms of creativity and imagination. Now folks, before I get any further, because before I really start to get into some of these strategies and techniques, I want you to learn my story. I want you to understand where this is coming from. About 3 years ago, we were in that thing, what was it, a pandemic? Yeah, some kind of like big major challenge, which I was just like, okay. First of all, I had a lot of people calling me during the pandemic looking for help. And a lot of people who had disabilities and everything who would contact me and say, you know, I'm a little more prepared for this than I think a lot of people are. You see, you're told to live with less when you have a disability. Your life gets modified. There's maybe less things that you can do. And it all fit in perfectly to like adapting and adjusting to the pandemic. I have to tell you though, on a serious note, I kept hearing on the TV and I kept reading things on the computer that during this pandemic there were many people who felt paralyzed. And I was like, really? Really? You're seriously gonna, and I had people on the phone and everything saying, Scott, this pandemic, it's so paralyzing, I can't do anything. And I said, really? This is what you're telling me? Anyway, had big plans right before the pandemic happened. Is that a movie was going to be launched called Ride the Wave, a documentary about my life that had taken about 5-6 years to make, was planned on being launched in 2020. The filmmakers and myself were really excited. We wanted to take this film around the world. We wanted to enter it into film festivals. We wanted to win awards. We wanted to see it up on the big screen. And all of a sudden the pandemic happened. And we were in a place of like all these plans. And I remember being on a computer, being on a Zoom call, in which you saw like 3 different rectangles up there. Bless you. Is that we saw 3 different rectangles up there, one being myself. And we all had our heads down. And we were all like, we can't believe this is happening. All these plans, all this effort, gone because of this pandemic. And at the same moment, we all kind of raised our head a little bit, and we all had a grin on our faces. And it's like we all arrived at the same moment, and we said to ourselves, wow, there may not be a better time in this world than now, during this pandemic, to release this film, based on what we believe that the world needs, and what this film has to offer. Hope, inspiration, motivation, overcoming obstacles, family, friends, disability, you name it, accessibility, you name it, involved in this movie. And we said, to heck with what everyone else is saying, we're going to launch this film. So we launched it virtually, and all of a sudden, it's still going across the world. Just last week, I was on a virtual call with Australia. I had 475 high school kids from Australia who were watching Ride the Wave with me. And their lives were being impacted. And I was like, wow. So even during something as the pandemic, I want you to put into that category as I'm talking tonight. Because that annihilated a lot of us. And I get it. But you're here. And you survived it. And I know there's a part of you that still has a place and a purpose because you're here. So I want to say, wow, congratulations to you for not only surviving that pandemic, but also, what did you learn from the pandemic? See, I've only, and I know that Michael told you, I've done a lot of traveling, folks. I've been to 43 countries. I've spoken to over 1.5 million people. I've been to all but 4 of the United States of America. I've done a lot of research into what makes people tick. Why are there people over here that are so happy, so successful, reaching goals, going beyond their wildest dreams? People over here who are struggling with everything on a daily basis, trying to be as non-judgmental as possible. And then most people who are kind of in here just coasting and getting by and saying, good, okay. And so there's a part of me that was like, wow, you know what? There's only one thing I've realized. There's only one positive thing that we can do with the past. Only one. Everything else is a waste of time and energy. Trust me, been there, done that. I'm the poster child for that with regards to what we can do with the past in a positive way. I've gone every road. I have spiraled many times in my life. One positive thing. That's learn from it. That's the only positive thing that we can do with the past. No matter how hard you change, you can't. I know there's people out there that say, well, I would have done this, or I could have done this. You know what I'm hearing a lot of these days? Well, you know, I should have done this with my kids. Or I should have done this with my life. Or I should have exercised more. Or I should have avoided this person. Or I should have taken this job. You know what happens with that word should? We say, I should do this, we should do this, we should do this. I'm sorry, but this is the most I'm going to swear tonight. We should have all over ourselves. That's what we do. Anytime you say to yourself, I should do something, your mind's going to create an excuse for you not to do it. So I'm about making things must. See, if I had a little kid behind me that was drowning in a swimming pool right now, you wouldn't say, I should save that child. You would say, I must. I've had people who don't even know how to swim that say, I'll be in that swimming pool. That's a must. And we get that. That's an urgent matter. But I'm letting you know these little tweaks to your life that you know in your heart. The mind thinks, the heart knows. That you know in your heart would make life better, would help you to do better. Is that we gotta make it a must. We gotta make it a must. Anyway, what I'd like to share with you now, and then I'll talk some more, I promise. And then I'll ask questions, and then we'll engage more. I want to share with you a trailer from this film. And before it's actually played, though, I want you to think, if your life were going to be up on the screen right now, is it the story of your life, a documentary about your life? Is it a movie that you are proud of, based on the choices and the events and the experiences in your life? If the answer is yes, I'd love everyone to watch it. I'm going to say, wonderful. The journey's not over. So as good as this movie is, let's keep adding some amazing chapters to make this movie even better. If the story of your life is like, I don't care if people watch it, I don't care if people look at it at all, I'm good, I'm okay, and you're just coasting by, whatever. Hey, let's make life a little bit better. Let's make it great tonight. Let's make it better because we so choose. And if you're one of those people that, you know what, you're horrified by the story of your life, you wouldn't want anybody to watch the story of your life, I'm going to say, okay, again, I appreciate your honesty, but through the power to choose comes the power to change. What in the world do you have to lose to get going starting tonight? To leave a legacy that you are not only proud of, but wow, it is amazing to you. And whether it's a few days, a few months, a few years, whatever it is the journey entails, you know, I'm just going to live life to the fullest. Whatever it is that means. And again, because you so choose. So think about the story of your life. Think about that legacy that maybe you don't feel like you're leaving right now, but I want to leave. And what do I have the power to do now? I don't want to hear about confinement. Folks, this is the only place a true disability can reside, is in our attitude. That's it. There are plenty of people right now who are out there who are physically, you want to say mentally more capable, who are struggling with their lives, and not to judge them, because they have chosen to disable themselves in their attitude. Whereas I believe that's our energy. That's a choice we have each and every day. That's a choice like a light switch that we can flick on, that we can flick off. We're in control of that light switch. We're going to get around to this trailer, I promise. Can we go to the beginning of it? I'm sorry. She was behind the curtain. She's like, when's he going to stop talking? Like, did you play the whole movie already? Wow. Okay. I do stop talking, I swear. My mom said I was talking in the womb. I don't believe her, but maybe that was the case. Yeah, you can play that. She's looking at me.
Hey, good to see you. I feel like you are an inspiration for not only me, but for the world.
It's good if we could be self-motivated, self-inspired by what it is that we do. There is a blueprint inside of us. There is access to strength beyond our wildest dreams.
Scott was my dream for what I couldn't accomplish in sports. I knew he had every ability to.
Scott was the real deal, you know, he was the quarterback of the football team, the shortstop and pitcher on the baseball team.
You could see he was going to be a very good athlete,
December 28th, 1985, I remember waking up and just having a numb big toe. And then that numbness went up one leg, went up a second leg, and left me paralyzed.
And they diagnosed it as foie à la genie.
Like to wake up that way. You went to bed. Scott went to bed.
It was clear that he had some gifts. The gift of communication, the gift of inspiration.
He's using whatever tools he's been given to influence our society in a positive way.
Nothing's impossible for him. Like, he can always do what he wants. Just keep on believing. That's what he says every day.
There's a little peak out front and then one further south that way. So we're trying to stay in this little general area right here. He wants to do the para surf world games next year, and it's my job to get him ready for it. I think Scott can win it.
That's Scott, and that's how I identify him. Like, the ocean is Scott. That's his happy place.
I can't change what happened on December 28th, 1985. I can't. The best thing that I can do is move forward. Did you like that? So you know, Michael, what we're going to do, well, I'm going to offer it up to Michael. Michael can run with it, or he could say, no, I don't do it. At some point, and I don't even have to be here, but I'll come back, is that I'd love to share the whole film with you. It's only an hour long, because a lot of you are like, oh, I've already had too much of them. Is that it's an hour long. So it was supposed to be an hour and a half, but again, wanting to win a lot of awards, I'm so thankful that's happening. Folks, I've been terrorized up here on this and everything. Woo! All right, now I get to breathe. I'm gonna pop a few wheelies and like go around. Yep, there we go. So anyone who's in a wheelchair, I was talking about those in walkers. I don't know if you got the memo. Anybody who's in a wheelchair, I'm gonna teach you how to do wheelies before I leave. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to see the. Some of you have masks on, but I saw the masks do like some kind of face on there. Thank you for doing all that. But I want to share the movie with you. So it was supposed to be an hour and a half long. They did a lot of editing because they wanted it to fit into the category of documentaries to win awards, so they had to cut it down to under an hour. So, but it's so happy about that film, and it's amazing that I look at that film now more than anything, and I see my kids in there. Folks, in addition to being told that I would never be able to walk again, I was told that I'd never be able to father my own children. I will never forget that day, though, when I was 15, been in one hospital for about 3 weeks. Then I was transferred to a larger hospital because they couldn't tell me why I was paralyzed. I'm at Columbia Presbyterian in New York City. And the 21st that was done on me, now we're in 1986, was an MRI. Today it would have been the first test. Back then it was so new and exploratory. But my spinal cord lit up like a Christmas tree, and they said, wow, that's the area where something's going on. So I decided to do a laminectomy on me, exploratory surgery, not to correct anything, just to see what was going on. And when they got in there, there were some blood vessels that weren't the right shape and size. So they extracted a few, sent those to pathology to research, sewed me back up, and put me back into bed. I want to say about 6 weeks later, I got a knock at my door. It was my doctor. Now, my doctor had always had the sports page under one arm and a sheet of paper under the other. I'm now in rehabilitation. And he wanted, it was my day's activities. So whether it was physical therapy, occupational therapy, he had the schedule of events for the day. On this day, though, he didn't have any kind of smile on his face. He would always have a smile on his face. So I'm thinking, okay, it's a doctor. He may not be having a good day. He may not be feeling well. And I said, Doc, everything okay? He said, I'm okay, Scott, but I need to share something with you. And I told my parents very early on, this is happening to me. I'm old enough. I don't want anything but the truth to be shared with me. And that's when he told me, I'm sorry to tell you this, Scott, but you will never walk again. And I remember hearing these words. And right away, this got a hold of it. Remember I told you before about the voice inside our head and the voice inside my heart? This is where my journey in realizing that there are two voices inside of us. This got a hold of it first. And all of a sudden, I felt like my life was over. Football, basketball, baseball, never going to be able to do this again. I used to go down to Jersey Shore with my family every summer and just float around aimlessly in the ocean, let the ocean just take me wherever, run along the beach. My life was all about movement. But then in the doctor's next breath, he said, but you're a very lucky young man. I said, what? I said, you just shattered my dreams, Doc. I had 2 dreams at the time as a 15-year-old kid. And I remember laying in the bed, the hospital bed. I said, Doc, I want to go to University of North Carolina where Michael Jordan played. If that doesn't happen, I play quarterback for the football team. I'm going to University of Oklahoma, and I'm playing quarterback for them. One of those 2 things is going to happen. Now neither of them is going to happen. You just shattered my dreams. How can you tell me I'm lucky? He said, Scott, yours is the 12th documented case ever in the history of the world. I had a retired pathologist from Africa who was visiting a former colleague at Columbia Presbyterian who said, I've seen this before. I still don't know to this day if they know exactly what happened to me. But they said out of the 11 cases before mine, 7 of these malformations, 7 of these strokes occurred in the brain and went down. He then proceeded to tell me that those people never lived. Talk about your power to choose, but I remember going from here to here. Mine wanted to check out. Mine didn't want to be here anymore. I get it. But right away, my heart was there. My heart said, Scott, you're still alive. You're still here. You still have the use of your hands, the use of your arms. Your heart's still beating. Your mind's still working. If you keep showing up for life, life is going to be good to you. And folks, it was like the biggest life preserver that was ever sent my way. And I haven't stopped. Now, this likes to play games on me, and this likes to get involved. My mind is always going to show up. Your mind is always going to show up. But you know what I'm finding? This comes through more self-awareness, understanding ourselves a little bit more. I know where this is going to go right now. I know it's going to try to spiral. I know it's going to try to generate fear. So you know what happens now? Is that I almost laugh at this voice inside my head because it's become predictable, because I know where it's going to go. I know how it plays small. I know how it generates fear. And if you're one of those people that like really buys into fear, it's a great acronym. Fictionalized evidence appearing real. It hasn't happened yet. And I know we got some drama queens in here, and I know we got some drama kings in here as well. So their mind's like, this is what's going to happen. Really? Really? Folks, I'm looking out at you right now, and I'm telling you, is that the mental and emotional paralysis that fear creates is far more debilitating than any type of physical paralysis I sit before you with today. And I'm just going to let you know, if you're buying into that fear, if you're subscribing to that, you're answering to this. Because this wants to control. This is why, and we're talking about change tonight. I love reacting to change, but I also like being a creator of change as well. And I know I'm met up with resistance with my mind all the time. Your mind hates change. Just think about, like, even good change is that you get all excited, like, wow, this is going to happen in my life. You get all excited, but then all of a sudden your mind is like, oh, pump the brakes. Let me remind you of times you have failed. Let me remind you of times when things haven't worked out. And all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I shouldn't do this. I compare it to like a gym membership. You know, at the beginning of the year, a lot of people get a membership to go to the gym. And they get all excited. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do cardio on this day. I'm going to lift weights on this day. And they start off the first of the year and they're at that gym. They're going crazy. Next week, they're still going crazy. Third week, maybe not so much. By the end of the month, that gym, which is a mile away from your house, it could be in the next state. Like you don't get there. And why? Is that initial vision that you had, that initial enthusiasm that you had, you lost. With regards to change, is that in terms of that change that we want to create, maybe you want to do better in therapy, maybe you want to have a better relationship with your son or daughter, whatever it may be. There's a part of you that gets excited about that change, that, wow, this is how it would look for me. And so you have this visual, but you also have a feeling behind it. This is how it makes me feel. This is how it will make me feel. Not if, but when I get there. So what happens is that some time goes on and we don't make that commitment. And so we end up saying, well, I guess it's not going to happen. And you kind of avoid that. Whereas what I like to do, anything that I'm looking to change that I know that will enhance my life, every single day, I bring that visual, that initial visual to mind of what it is that I want to create and how, not if, but when it happens, how it's going to make me feel. So that visual of what it is that you want, keep locked in that feeling of when, not if this happens. Keep bringing that to the surface, because I'm all about building bridges. Where we are today and where I want to be tomorrow, where I want to be the next day, there's a bridge there. But unless I stay focused on why it is that I want that bridge gets longer and longer to the point where I'm like, no, I don't have the time or energy to do that. Folks, in addition to being told that I would never walk again, I was told that I'd never be able to father my own children. Being able to father my own children is more important to me than walking again. My wife and I still talk about adopting a child, but like from a biological standpoint, I wanted to have my own children. I'll never forget before my first trip around the world. I was going to 15 countries in 15 months by myself. And I decided to get tested. I just wanted to get tested about the chances of maybe having my own children. And I had my doctor say, you have a 2% chance, Scott. And the longer that you're paralyzed and in a wheelchair, the more those numbers are going to go down. I said, thanks a lot, doc, like they can get any worse. 2% is not very good. So I said, okay, I got some work to do. And I will never forget the last stop on that first trip around the world. I went to a personal development seminar in Hawaii. 2,500 people were at the seminar. And one night it was announced that we were going to do a fire walk. A fire walk. Right away my mind got a hold of that and said, fire walk. What kind of joke is this? Burning hot coals. Ooh. So they had a little demonstration over to the side. So I was like, let me just check it out. I reached down. These are burning hot coals. How are we going to walk? I can't walk. I can't do it. There's 2,500 people at the seminar. I'm the only one in a wheelchair. I can't do it. So my mind had told me. But I had trained myself to do a head-heart shift. Mind thinks, heart knows. I would much rather be in my knowingness. And my heart just said, find a way. Find a way. The more you listen to your heart, the quicker the answers are going to come and the simple. And I'm going to ask you to act on them. And the more you trust it, the louder that voice will get. So it said, find a way. Moments later, I'm in front of the director of the seminar. I said, listen, I know that I can't do this fire walk on my feet and on my legs, but I'm going to do it on my hands. You see, with my arms in my hands, I'm going to transfer down onto the ground. I'm going to flip over onto my stomach. I want you to grab my legs like a wheelbarrow race, and we're going to go along these burning hot coals. Now, he's looking at me like many of you are looking at me like, this guy's crazy. Who did Van Dyke have to come talk to us? This guy's out of his mind. And folks, I am crazy. I'm crazy for this thing called life. Keep telling me I can't do something. Keep telling me I can't be something. I don't get small and saying, why not? I get fueled by it. I get fueled. And it's almost like I want to prove you wrong. So I'm going to find a way around it. I'm going under it. I'm going over you, or I'm going through you. I'm going to do everything in my power to make it happen. And if for whatever reason it doesn't happen, I will come to that determination on my own. Nobody's going to choose my destiny for me. That's me. That's what I'm in the process of creating in my life. So all of a sudden, the director of the seminar said, okay, Scott, I believe in you. I think that's possible. But I just wanted to share with you that it's not this little patch of burning hot coals. There's going to be a path 40 feet long of burning hot coals. And he said to me, whatever you want in life is waiting for you on the other end. And so we had learned that night all about creative visualization and imagery. Closing our eyes and visualizing what you want in life. And when I tell you, because I look out there, because a lot of you might say, okay, I see the picture, what good is that? I'm telling you now, there's been a lot of research that's been done on this. Olympic athletes swear by this practice. In addition to hours and hours of physical practice, they will spend time either in silence or with music visualizing. I mean, you have speedsters who picture themselves running across the finish line, looking over and seeing a world record time. And they complement that with the practice that they have. I have students that are doing this now who study and telling them to study but visualize themselves going across a test and just having that confidence and combining that with their studying and seeing things begin to change. For me, the visual, and I could close my eyes right now and see it like it was yesterday. I visualized myself walking along the beach holding my wife's hand with one hand and holding a child's hand with the other hand. My friends, you could have put broken glass down in front of me. There was nothing that was going to stop me. I got down, I flipped onto my stomach, he grabbed my legs, and I said, let's go. And I felt some heat on my hands, and I felt it on my face, but there was something more important that was waiting for me. And it's something that every single person in this room can relate to, in which there was a time, there's been several times in your life in which you said, I don't think I can do this, but you did it anyway. And there was that small part of you that said, if this is possible, anything is possible. That's why I love to go back into the past, because when fear arises or we think we can't do something, sometimes we go back into the past and we can extract courage from the past. In times where, wait a minute, I was courageous there. And you know what? I made it happen there, and bring that to the forefront and make whatever we want, at least giving it an effort to try to make it happen, which is powerful. And so 6 weeks later, after this experience in Hawaii, I'm back at home. I had just been tested about the chances of having my own children, retested. All of a sudden I remember sitting in like a hallway waiting for my doctor at the end of the hall to call me in. He opens the door, not even a please. He said, Scott, get down here. I said, Doctor, Scott, get down here. I'm like, all right, Doc wants to talk to me. I got to go. So I get to his head. He goes, shut the door. Not even a please. Shut the door. I shut the door. I said, Doc, what's going on? He said, you tell me. And I said, why? He goes, you just defied logic. You've just defied years and years of research. I said, Doc, I'm not understanding. He said, you now have a 55% chance of fathering your own children. What in the world have you been doing? So with a great big smile on my face, I remember tapping the center of my chest. And I said, Doc, there's something that's unquantifiable, something that cannot be measured. And it doesn't exist within some of us, it exists within all of us. And that's the power of belief. Folks, when you put the power of belief, anything is possible. I'm not saying that everything happens, but anything is possible. Folks, at Fordham University right now is my 20-year-old daughter, Nia, my flesh and blood. This is the first girl in 72 years on my side of family. We don't even know how to wipe girls on my side of family. And just so you know, this is where my craziness took me, is I told my wife, or I asked my wife, I should say. I said, honey, I play quarterback for the football team. I would love to catch our children when they're born. So I've only fumbled a couple times. So I was there and I got my energy. I caught my daughter. And I will never forget these beautiful brown eyes just looking up at me. And if there was any doubt, disbelief in anything in life, it evaporated in that moment. I also have, who's at home right now, my almost 18-year-old son, Ray. So I have one of each. And I will tell you, they are my shining examples of what's not only possible in my life, but what's possible for anyone else. That word impossible arises for you on a daily basis, maybe repeatedly during a daily basis. I get it, I understand it. Let's change the game starting tonight. Just imagine if I had a big screen up here. No, don't put it down again. Don't put it down. But imagine if it was down and you saw written across it the word impossible. Think of how often you've used that in your lives, how much you might be using it on a daily basis, even still today. All I did, folks, is take a simple apostrophe and put it between the I and M. Now it says I'm possible. And it shifts so much. So simple. What if I gave up? What if I just said, oh, you know what, I can't have my own children. I got to believe what the doctors say and everything, and just didn't get around to doing the work or even attempt to have my own children. My daughter wouldn't be here right now. My son wouldn't be here right now. Folks, anything is possible. And I'm going to say when we get beyond the limitations of our minds. So whatever it is that your mind's telling you right now that is not really serving you, that's not creating happiness in your life, that's not bringing a smile to your face, whatever it is that I'm going to strongly suggest you make a change starting tonight. I had someone just the other day who just said, you know, I'm very sad. I'm very sad. And I said, I'm sorry to hear that. We'll talk in a little while, but what's one thing that makes you happy? Scott, I just told you I'm sad. I get it. What's one thing that has made you happy in your life? A little smile overcame his face. And he said, walking my dog in the park. I said, when was the last time you walked your dog in the park? I can't remember. I said, is there anything that's preventing you from doing that today? No. I said, here's my cell phone number. I said, I want to text when you do it. I want to hold you accountable because I want you to feel happy for that moment. 5:15 came around, I got a text from him. Scott, I walked my dog. I feel like I'm on top of the world. That's a moment of happiness. Was that getting rid of the sadness over there? For the moment, yes. That moment of sadness can last into many moments if we continue to make the same choices, if we continue to have the same attitude. So shall you reap. And what can happen with happiness is that, wait a minute, that worked for me, I worked my dog. We start to believe, okay, if that's possible, I want more of that happiness. So we get more energy and more focus to do different things. But what I'm telling you is that these moments of happiness could be here today, gone tomorrow. Those moments of sadness can be here today and gone tomorrow. How would we know happiness if we didn't know sadness? How would we know success if we didn't know failure? How would we know pleasure if we didn't know pain? This is where I've gotten to a point in my life, is that to embrace life's polar opposites, that's a key. That's a huge key to me thriving in my life right now. Now, I'm not telling you to go look for failure. I'm not telling you, whoa, Scott said I got to go find failure. No, no, no. You know that it's happened. It's happened repeatedly in your life. And in those moments of failure, it feels like the end of the world, right? But you look back on your failures in life. How much did you learn? How much life did you experience without that experience? I mean, I look back at business failures. I look back on relationship failures. I look at like everything. I'm saying, wow, yeah, in that moment, felt like the end of the world. But had I not had that experience, I would have never met this person. Had this, like I could even say paralysis right now. I look at it, all of you. Do I want to walk again? Absolutely. I'm more driven than ever before. There are clinical trials that are going on that got my name written all over it. So maybe, just maybe, the next time I come, I might steal that walker from you. Because yeah, I'm looking at you. Yeah. You owe me $25, what is it? $30, sorry. I might take that walk. So I'm driven. I want to walk again. More driven than ever before, because I know that it would make my life easier. But I look at you in all honesty and say, do I have to walk again? And the answer is no. I might just have to be the happiest guy ever in this wheelchair. And that begins with my attitude. Folks, the attitude we have. Again, that's the only place we can be disabled. But that's what we wake up to. I'm in my 37th year of waking up with my attitude. And every single day I wake up kind of just like you, some of you in a similar way, in which I got an empty wheelchair waiting for me. And even times where I have been hospitalized for secondary conditions or I felt sick, there hasn't been a day in which I haven't gotten into that wheelchair. Because for me, that's showing up for life. For all of you that have the use of your legs and you're able to stand, that's when you got out of bed, you swung your legs out, you put your feet on the ground, you stood up and you began your day. And knowing that you're here today, I salute all of you for showing up for life. That's half the battle for me. The second half of the battle is I ask, where are your choices taking you? See, I realize how powerful, our greatest power is our power to choose, folks. And I realize it can take us in this direction in which you can create. You can hit your goals. You can meet your objective. You can realize your dreams. I realize that we can go beyond our wildest dreams with this power to choose. But I'd be lying to you if I told you it only goes in that direction. We also can go in that direction, in which we create a life of misery, a depressing life for ourselves and other people. That's how powerful it is. But this boils down to your choice. And when I talk about attitude, I meant, is it a positive attitude? Do you see your life as half full? Do you see the lives of other people as half full and opportunity and potential? Or is it half empty? What's wrong with my life? What's wrong with your life? What's wrong with the world? This boils down to our attitude, folks. And this is where, again, you could be making the same choices each and every day for 10 years and stop it today if you want. And begin to catch yourself. What I've realized more than ever is there's a powerful force in this world. Love is powerful. It's up there. But there's this thing called gratitude that I tell people each and every day. That's what gets me through the day. I look out at all of you, and I'm not saying this to sound inspirational or heroic. I don't have bad days anymore. I made a choice a long time ago. No more bad days. Challenging moments. Folks, my legs feel like when your foot falls asleep, but 50 times more intense. Every single day for 37 years. I am so happy that that 15-year-old kid said, I'd rather have some feeling in my legs than no feeling at all. Most people who are paralyzed have no sensation. I have this sensation. If I focused on nothing else but it, it would probably be agonizing. But that's a choice that I made. So I experience pain. I have my moments of would've, should've, could've. I'm human, absolutely. I have moments of sadness each and every day. But this thing called gratitude is, wow, how awesome is our lives. Not just good, not just okay. I think about my own life. I think about where I am at this very moment. And right away, I'm flashing back to places that I've been around the world. Part of my mission, too, was letting families know what's possible for their loved ones who might be struggling with a disability, who might be struggling with a physical challenge, and letting them know what's possible. Do you know there were some countries that I went to that didn't have places like this? And there would be people that would absolutely keep their loved ones at home, take care of them, nurture them, but would not allow them to leave for fear of embarrassment. Imagine that. Imagine that. And so part of me in trying to facilitate change and helping other people realize what's possible. So I know everybody in this room right now, that heart's still beating, you still breathing, you still have a place and a purpose in here. What exactly that is, how it's been modified, I don't have any idea. That's your journey. That's your journey. That's for you to claim. Reclaim whatever it is that you want. But I know that there's a reason for you here. Still. So I would love for you to re-engage that little kid who just turned over every stone and saying, what's life all about? What's that? That sense of wonder. And let me just explore and find that out. And while you might not have that grand purpose that you once had, maybe it's helping that person who lives in the room next to you. Just listening for a little while. Maybe it's putting that ego aside and calling that loved one. And whatever it is that's prevented you from doing that or really connecting and communicating, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? Folks, I did something. So much is coming up right now. It was back in 1994. I was 24 years old. My father passed away of a massive heart attack. I didn't have a chance to say goodbye. And so what I ended up doing with my dad, which was powerful, is I ended up writing him a letter and letting him know how much I loved him, how angry I was with him. Wasn't the best communicator in the world. Was one of those like old-fashioned dads who like gave you that look when you knew you did something wrong, and you'd hear from him that way. Otherwise, it was like kind of just do your thing. Provided, supported, did all that. But there were a lot of things that I got out there in that letter. And then I ended the letter just saying, I love you, Dad. And I remember I can't mail it to him. Can't read it. I burned it. And I made a point to say, when I burn this letter, I'm letting go. I'm forgiving. I'm doing everything. And folks, forgiving doesn't mean forgetting. But I forgave him, and I forgave myself for maybe not being that engaging son that he was looking for at that time in my life, even though I was still very young. And I let it go. And I have to tell you, I've done this in so many ways with so many people. So my mother is still alive. My mom actually lives in a mother-daughter suite attached to our house. But there was a period of time where I lived in Miami, Florida. You're supposed to get smart when you're up here in New Jersey and move and retire down to Miami, Florida. I went down there for 3.5 years, traveled around the world, then came back to New Jersey. I'm back in the town that I grew up in, not because of me, because my wife loves it so much. So anyway, is that when I was living down in Miami, Florida, I had a communication issue with my mom. Is that she always seemed to be pushing my buttons to the point where it was very difficult to have a conversation on the telephone with her. I love my mom dearly. But at this point, I just got to a point where I need to write her a letter. And so I wrote her a letter, and I began that letter with, Mom, I love you dearly. And I was like, I want things to get better between us. And then I got into like, I can't stand you right now. I love you more every day, but I just don't like you right now. And I got into my laundry list. And the end of the letter, I said, Mom, I love you. Never forget that. That's it. This letter I didn't burn, though. This letter got mailed. Now, my mom got that letter. She opened it. And I can just imagine if there was a video camera on her face. Like, she would have been shocked. Now, are you ready? When I mailed that letter, I let it go. I was like, I'm done. This is the way I feel. I love you, Mom. This is how you're making me feel. It's not working for me anymore. I let it go. Are you ready? For 2.5 years, my mom carried that letter around in her pocketbook. And whether it be the food store, whether it be church, do you want to see this letter my son wrote to me? Now again, I wasn't looking to teach my mom who had more of an issue with it than I did. My mom carried it around. But I will never forget my mom sharing with me one day. She ended up calling me. And I wasn't looking to teach her a lesson. I was just looking to let her know how it was making me feel. She called me up and she said, I get it, Scott. I get it. I understand. And I'm sorry. And I wasn't looking for that at all. She ripped the letter up and she got rid of it. And while there's still issues from time to time, we work through it. One of the biggest issues I've been through with my mom, which I have no problem sharing, is that my mom's a recovering alcoholic. And she works her program. She's doing great now. And I actually love the 12-step program. It's filled with so many wonderful things. And so I started talking to her about doing for yourself because she had an issue with this whole like taking care of yourself. She was in that school of thought that like that's selfishness. I said, Mom, I get it. I understand how you feel that way. I said, I believe that when you do for yourself at the exclusion of other people, that is selfishness. I get it. I agree with you. But when you do for yourself with the desire and the intent to want to do even more for other people, that's self-respect. That's self-love. And ever since I shared that with her, and a little light bulb went off, is that she started taking better care of herself and doing for herself, realizing she had more energy to share with other people. And then I shared with her a great example that just reinforced the message. Because when I love doing research on people, those who have touched people, those who have made an impact on people and learning more, so I did some research. And I found this woman, Mother Teresa. You ever hear of her? Mother Teresa. Pretty miraculous woman, huh? Now this could have everything to do with religion or nothing to do with religion. I think we can all agree, pretty amazing woman, right? I've yet to find anyone in another country to say, you know what, she was a real, no one's ever said that about Mother Teresa. So I did some research on her. And I found something, wow, that I shared with my mom. And my mom was awestruck. I said, Mom, I don't know exactly when it started, but Mother Teresa created daily habits in her life. 2, probably so many more. One was every single morning, she would pray to God by herself for 1 hour. She said, this is my time to talk to God. Felt like she was filling her cup then. Then, as we kind of have heard and learned, she touched countless lives and helping others throughout the course of the day. To the point where, at the end of the day, 1 hour again, by herself in meditation. She said, this is my time to listen to God. So on either side of the day, she was filling her own cup to the point where she had even more energy and more resources to help other people. And so we think of this person who it was entirely selfless and did for others. No, she took care of herself. And folks, I look at every set of eyes in here and to say, even if that starts today, take care of yourself. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever that may mean to you. And knowing full well that, wow, when I take, and the beautiful thing too is that when you do more for yourself and you take care of yourself, you begin to understand others more in a less judgmental way, which is just very powerful and healing for itself. And so I wanted to share that. I'm looking at the clock now. I could go all night, Michael. I could go all night. No, I want to be respectful of the time. I go off on tangents from time to time. But I want to give you all an opportunity to ask me any questions about my life, any questions that you might be working through that I am sure, again, we're all working through something where maybe I could add something, but it seems like we have some brilliant minds in here as well that might be able to add some light on your situation. So anybody have any questions or anything you'd like to share? Come on, there's got to be someone out there. Well, let me see who's going to answer this now. Would anybody care to share with me what your biggest challenge is in your life right now? Just out of curiosity. If you were going to say, that's at the top of my list right now. Anybody willing to share that? You guys are mom. Either I did a great job and you're, oh, thank you. So that's not a spasm, right? You're really raising your hand, right? Okay, thank you for that beautiful smile.
I really appreciate you and all that you have issued to us tonight. It's really been a very hard time for me. It's been several years now since my accident occurred and prevented me from making some of the changes to my life that I had intended to. But I am here tonight and I do hear you and I thank you for that.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for having the courage to share that. Can I ask you a question now? Whether it's a person that you've met, an experience that you have, is there just one? There may be plenty, and you might be thinking about it tonight. What's one gift that your situation here, your accident, your having this disability now, what's one gift that you've been given because of it that may not have entered your life had you not had the accident? I love it. I love it. So I look at you right now, and while my heart goes out to you, and I wish I could go back in the past and make like this never happen, there's a part of me that's intrigued beyond belief. Because I think, why this? Why did this amazing woman have this happen? And I'm not saying that consciously you were looking to do this. But why at this time in your life that this challenge entered your life? I'm intrigued. I'm fascinated by it, just like the person next to you and why it is that we create these things. But I absolutely believe. I don't believe they're coincidences. I believe through absolutely everything that's happened in my life and absolutely everything that's happened in your life, is that there's purpose and there's reason. Again, it's that 2-year-old scribbling on a piece of paper. May not make sense, but I'm absolutely a firm believer. And I know some of you out there might say, well, you can make sense of anything. You could find a reason for anything. No. Folks, that's a method of the mind. My heart knows now that not only do you have what it takes to survive what's happened to you, I'm even going to look at you as that you have an opportunity to thrive. I don't know what thriving looks like for you. I don't know what that entails. But I'm just letting you know, all of you know, it doesn't have to be this big, grand thing. Sometimes it can just be listening to someone, communicating to someone, making a positive difference with the gifts that you still have, still share. So that's your journey. But again, I appreciate what you've done by sharing what you just shared. You've thrown a pebble into that still pond, and it's had a ripple effect to the point where you have every single person in this room who's sending you energy, who's intrigued by your story and wanting to learn even more. You manifested that tonight. And that's part of your journey. So I am just intrigued. And I think I might have to stay in touch with you, if you're okay with that. Are you okay with that? She's like, I'm done. I'm putting the mask back on. Like, this is what I get for sitting in the front row. I love it. Anybody, to see now, anybody else like, oh no, I'm not talking now. Ask a question, get a question. You never know what's going to happen here. Yes?
What you said, I think it's interesting is that, and for you, I missed the beginning, so I'm sorry, but as a young...
$50, that's all. I'm 80. This is a good night, Michael.
You said you played football, so obviously, like, how do you, it was interesting you brought up ego. Like, ego and anger gets in the way of accepting a different purpose, right?
Absolutely.
So how did you struggle through that? How do you know, it is, I think that's an interesting explanation.
Oh, no. Oh, it's natural. It's natural to get angry. When we conceptualize something and it doesn't take place, it is natural to be angry and to feel those feelings. So whatever feelings you have in any facet of your life, that's so important. Feel your feelings. Feel sadness, feel happiness, feel anger, feel rage, but then channel it. So I think the biggest question for me that helps me to kind of like make peace with this, because there's almost like this evolution of why. It's like, why me? And then there could be a time where you say, why not me? Like, I can handle anything. And then I think that evolves into, why this? Almost like what we were talking about. Why this? Why is this happening now? And what happens with me with anger now is that when something generates, and whether it be my wife, whether it be my kids, whether it be something in the world, when something generates anger within me, I know one of two things is taking place. Either something's unresolved within me, because like you could say right now is that you are an awful speaker, Scott. You could say that to me. And I could be like, oh, you're ugly. I mean, I could just like fire back and get all angry with you. Or I could just say that and I was like, I don't know what's going on with her, but no, I'm not like a bad speaker. And it passed right through me and everything. But when something's unresolved within us, it sticks. That's the first case. Also, you could say something to someone. And I'm kind of talking about button pushers too. People push our buttons all the time. Either one, something's unresolved, or two is that, wow, they're operating in a place that's so far out of your reality. Like, I can't imagine, in which I say, how too could I be that way? Twice a year, and I've been doing this for a few decades now, is that I will go speak to inmates at a prison. People who will never see the light of day again. First of all, there's not a part of me that condones their behavior at all. And there's a part of me that knows that there's still a human being that's there. And so I wish to connect with that human being. And I get around to each and every one of them. Why this? Why this? What was going on in their lives? Folks, I realize that when we're connected to ourselves, again, going in that direction, anything's possible. When we're disconnected from ourselves, that's when we can do some terrible things to ourselves and other people. I get it. To the point where I am no longer shocked or stunned. I've seen the best in human beings and being able to create. And like I've seen like behavior that is just, let's disconnect. And we can reconnect whenever we want. We were connected at one point, but we've become disconnected. That's where self-awareness, getting to know oneself, what it is that makes us feel good mentally, spiritually, physically, and what we need to care for ourselves. When we don't take care of ourselves, that's when we become disconnected. And we allow anger to prevail more. That's when other things that aren't so becoming of us, our behavior, takes a turn sometimes. That was a roundabout way. Did I answer your question? Another tangent sometimes. Yes. Now you feel comfortable, like, okay, a couple people have asked their questions and everything. Now I can ask my question. I'm just teasing you. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And it's a great question. First of all, and you brought up a word, and I just want to make sure that I clarify the word acceptance, because that's a big word. And I didn't use it at all tonight, I don't think. Acceptance to me means there's things about your life that you like, that you're very happy with. And then there's things about your life that maybe I'm not too happy with, some of which maybe I can change, some of which I can't. You put it together like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you're at that place in the middle. Just accepting. Like, I'm accepting of my paralysis right now. Does it mean I love everything about it? No. Are there some great things about it? Yeah, I'm parked right here, right in front. I get to the front of the line at Disney World. Membership has its rewards. I was in Atlanta, Georgia all week, and I just got back. You ready for this? I'd never experienced this in any of my airports that I went before. They had security just for people with mobility disabilities. So whether it be a walker or a wheelchair, TSA, pat-downs, all that, just for that, one whole lane for that. And I was so impressed because it made everything just flow, and there was no one like really being upset, and people were getting to their flight. So it was amazing. Getting back to your question, though, is that, wow, are rituals and routines so important? And things that you know make you feel good, allow you to connect with yourself. I will tell you this, because I just got back from my trip. Whenever I'm traveling and everything, I usually have a very busy schedule. So it's a modified list. So one of those things I love to do is meditate. Now, if you were to ask me 20, 30, 20, 25 years ago about meditation, I would have said, you know what, you go to India, you go to the top of this biggest mountain, you're going to see someone in an orange jumpsuit. My wife is from India, so she don't say that. That's where my mind was. Like, there was no place in my life for meditation. I was brought up with it. I was ignorant. I'm in a place now where I try things, knowing full well that, wow, it's worked for that person, it's worked for that person. Let me give it a chance. And so I still have yet to find a close second as to something that slows down my racing mind. My mind is still there. It still races from time to time. Meditation, and there's so many types of meditation, allows me to go there. So when I'm traveling and everything, it's usually a 5-minute or 10-minute meditation in the morning, and then 5 to 10 minute like in the evening at some point. When I'm at home and like I have the time and everything, it's a 30-minute in the morning and 20 to 30 minutes in the evening at some point, because it allows me to line up. I journal from time to time. I like talking to people, as you probably know, but I realize is that sometimes, you know what, I'm just there with my thoughts and it doesn't have to make sense. So I will write things down, and there's so much, and just when you journal and everything, it doesn't have to make sense. It's just a release. That's what it is that you want. So I'll do that from time to time. Exercise is great. I love my exercise routines that I have. I'm trying to think what else is part of my, like personal development books that I have. I just had a kid at Seton Hall Prep and everything. He goes, Mr. Chesney, where can I find your book? And I was like, oh, I've been working on this for a while. That last chapter involves movement again, and it's like incomplete, so I haven't gotten it done. You know what I did with the kid today? I gave him my card, and I said, would you do me a big favor? Would you text me every week and ask me, how's my book coming along? I want to be accountable. He goes, you want me to do that? I was like, I want you to do that, please. I want to be held accountable. And that's one of my unfinished business. I haven't gotten it done. And I know there's still some fear involved in that, but I love writing. But those things that make you happy. So folks, one of those things I tell people all the time is like taking a deep breath. One of the things when we get stressed out, we don't breathe properly. There's so many people who are depressed these days. And while there's a lot that goes into it, I'm very cognizant of mental health issues. But depression, I know one of the things that's at the root of that are people who are dwelling on the past, So the would have, should have, could have, and they're hoping for a different result, but they're playing the tape of their lives and it's going the same and the same. And it leads to depression. I realize that anxiety is used a lot. People are filled with a lot of anxiety. That's the future. That's a preoccupation with the future in which I'm all for planning, I'm all for strategizing. But you know, you can tell me exactly how your life is, how your evening is going to go tonight. This is what I'm going to do when I leave here. And this one, I can guarantee you it's not going to look exactly that way. You might brush your teeth a little bit longer. You might be caught up in talking out of a conversation. And it's all good. But if we get so caught up into it, so what happens if we're dwelling on the past or we're so caught up in the future? What are we missing out on? This magical moment that we're creating now. So it's almost, to really answer your question, which I'm getting around to, what puts me back in the moment? What puts me back in the moment? Maybe it's a phone call with someone that, you know, I just love hearing their voice. Maybe it's going out and hearing the birds sing once in a while. Maybe it's singing for a little while. Maybe it's watching a certain television show. Maybe it's looking into the mirror and for once smiling and enjoying that mirror reflection rather than saying, "Ugh, you again? Ugh." And something like that. Just different things that make you happy. Does that resonate? Can I ask you? Well, no, I'm not done with you. Can I ask you? I don't know, the number 2 is coming up for me. Can I have 2 things that you will start tomorrow incorporating in your daily life that you know, not think, but know, makes you feel good? How about no? I don't like the word good. Makes you feel great.
Well, I agree with you on the meditation. I, have taken classes and, I know what to do, but I don't do it.
May I ask why?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I know it makes me feel good. I know if I put the time in, I get the results.
When I put the time in, not if. Okay.
So I would put the time in.
5 minutes. Start off with 5 minutes. And if your mind wanders or whatever, can I? Well, that's the first one. Then I'll tell you a real quick story. Because you said I could keep them to tomorrow morning, right, Mike? Okay. We are going to stop in a little while. What was the second thing?
I think just write down 5 things I'm grateful for.
Yeah. Gratitude, folks. Begin the day, end the day with gratitude. I have to tell you a quick story because I know there's some people out there that's going to say, you know what, meditation, I can't do it. Or it's too tough. So I actually learned how to meditate through a gentleman who's very well known, Dr. Deepak Chopra, who's written many books. He's amazing. This is a man who's been trained in traditional, conventional medicine, but also in Ayurveda, in alternative medicines as well. And so I was out in La Jolla, California, where the Chopra Center for Wellbeing used to be. Now they're in Carlsbad, I believe. And we're there. I got out of my chair. I'm on like a patch of grass, and he gave me a mantra, and I start meditating. And then all of a sudden, I feel him on my shoulder. He's going, Scott, wake up, Scott. All of a sudden, I opened my eyes, and I was like, oh, Dr. Chopra. I was really like in the zone. I was in the gap. And he goes, no, Scott, it's an hour and 20 minutes later. You fell asleep. And I said, oh my God, Dr. Chopra, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. And all of a sudden he said, no, Scott. He goes, first rule of thumb, never judge a meditation. He said, you were meant to be sleeping more than you were meant to be meditating. So he said, at the end of this week, if you're still sleeping, then we have a problem. So it's almost like, don't judge. My mind's wandering a little bit. Don't fight. Mind wants you to fight because that's change. Meditation is change. Meditation is saying, hey, mind, we're just giving you a break for a little while. Mind's like, no, don't do this. This is no. And trying to create all diversions for you. So I'm like, meditation is great. And it's all different. And it doesn't have to be with your eyes closed. I have people who are looking at a candle, just looking at a candle, and at first they're like just sending problems, issues, and watching them kind of just like dissolve in a flame. I have other people that visualize clouds and just putting a thought, like a thought comes into your mind, put on a cloud and watch it float away. Another thought comes in, put on a cloud and send it away. And you'll find that those thoughts become fewer and far between. So, long-winded answers. I don't know where Michael is. I think Michael left. Michael, did you leave yet? No, is he still? He might have left. Oh, boy. All right. Any other questions? Yes. Wow.
Can I answer that?
I have a groupie here. No, I'm just kidding.
Scott and I grew up in the same town, and he graduated high school with my brother. And I can remember Scott coming back to school in a wheelchair, and everybody feeling bad for him, feeling sorry for him, and he wouldn't have it. And then we had this big Scott Chesney Day, which I think we just probably past the anniversary of. And as much as you wanted to feel bad for him, and you couldn't, he wouldn't let us. And about 5 years ago, I saw him on a show with Steve Adubato. And I made everything in my house stop to watch this. And it's just so amazing how he has just, this is genuine, this is how he's been. And I hate to say I'm proud of you because it sounds, but I am so proud of you. And you've only gotten so much better, and you were so good when this started when you were 15.
Well, let me dive deeper into, first of all, thank you for that. I mean, that touches my soul. Through my own journey and kind of going back and understanding like why this at different parts of my life. To really get into your question, when this first happened to me, I know that when I laid in that hospital bed originally, and I had my mother, my father, my brother, and friends and family around my bed, I remember seeing eyes the shape of golf balls with tears in them. And I know that, not consciously, but subconsciously, I said, all that pain you're all experiencing is far greater than anything I could be experiencing. So I shut it down. I said, whatever it is that I'm feeling, I can't deal with all the pain you're experiencing. So I shut it down. Put a smile on my face. Again, I wasn't physically suffering and struggling, but I put a smile on my face. I got back into school, and I made things as normal as possible. It was probably about 13 years later, is that when I started my travels around the world. And that was the 15 countries in 15 months. I remember being in Athens, Greece, probably the most inaccessible country at the time. When they had built it out of stone, they didn't have me in mind. I gave that 15-year-old kid time to grieve. And I hit low to the point where, like, again, where I had that fleeting moment when doctors told me I'd never walk again, I really allowed that to sink in. And I got angry, and I got mad, and I, like, didn't leave my room for, like, 3 days. I grieved over the death of my father, too, something that I hadn't done yet, because I was there trying to be there for everybody. So I think it's when I know, when I allowed myself to be vulnerable and to feel my feelings and to feel as much as I could so many years later the loss that I had experiencing, knowing full well that if anybody else at any time in their life had gone through something like this, they have every right to feel however it is that they're feeling. So what happened in that moment, though, is that the healing started to take place. And so what I share with everyone, I'm so glad you brought up that question too, is that I believe we have almost like imaginary backpacks that we carry around with us. And for a lot of people, it's a heavy load. It's a very heavy load of unresolved issues. But at any time in our life, we can open up that backpack and we can make peace with the past. Doesn't mean we change the past, but we can go back to any moment and reinterpret it and make sense. Like, without this experience, I would have never met this person. Without this thing, I would have never had this job. And kind of like making sense of your life in a way that maybe you didn't before. And what that does is that it lightens the load. It lightens the load. And then you feel more free. And you kind of have more of a purpose. It's what I call like making peace with the past. I don't need to like carry around anything other than an understanding and a knowingness of the past. Knowing full well that every event, experience, and choice has led me up to you, doing what I love most. So why would I change anything? Why would I change anything? Did that answer your question? All right. I'm trying. Any other questions? Thoughts? Comments? Well, you guys have all been a wonderful audience. If anybody afterwards needs like a little private time, I'm more than happy to do that. They told me if anyone wants to have a picture taken over there, we can do it in front of that wonderful, what do you call that now? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, step and repeat. I'm like, maybe it's the step thing why I never remember that. It's a step and repeat. So I would be more than happy to do that. But thank you so much, everybody. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you so much.